We'd like to begin this podcast by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, the Whadjuk Noongar people, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging.
This episode of Talking Couch Potatoes is brought to you by Henry Houndwear, the brand that all the best dressed hounds are wearing. To find yours, go to henryhoundwear.com.au.
Hello Maleficent, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm pretty good, but guess what else I am? Well, we are.
50!
We're 50. We just turned 50.
Hey, that makes me younger than I really am.
50th episode of Talking Couch Potatoes, a half centenary. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's middle-aged, basically. We didn't want to get to middle-aged, though, did we?
No.
We wanted our cause to be redundant by this stage.
What is it? Live fast, die young.
Yeah. Yes. And let the greyhounds live long.
Live long.
And not die young.
Exactly.
But we're still going. We're still pushing on. And we'll keep pushing on until, God damn it, the hounds run free. They run free. Anyway, what's happening, Mel?
Well, we had the budget hearings recently in the Legislative Council.
In WA?
Yep, the Upper House.
What does that mean?
Well, that means that at the commencement of a new financial year, the budgets go to the Upper House and the Lower House and all the MPs, and everybody gets to come together and ask questions of different agencies that they wish to.
Right. So this is where they come along and they say, this is where we're putting money here, we're putting money here, and then you justify why you need that money?
Yeah.
Or
okay. Yeah. You don't even have to justify, you've got to explain because it's already been put in the budget. So they're not going to pull it out, but they just want to know, well, what are you going to do with it? Racing and wagering were called this year. They spoke in the Lower House. They weren't asked much about greyhound racing there, apart from are they going to phase it out? Minister Papalia said no. So in the Upper House, we were very lucky to have the Honourable Jess Speckling from the Greens ask some questions for us.
Thanks, Jess.
Thank you. She's amazing.
We should have her on the show, Mel.
Yes, absolutely. And she's agreed to that. We've just got to get a time because she's, it's been 100 days in Parliament already.
Busy.
I know.
Talk soon, Jess.
So they had Mr. Ian Edwards, who is the CEO of Racing and Wagering, and Jess asked him what was happening with the $6.1 million gap kennels that were in the pipeline.
Proposed.
Exactly, which Ian Edwards had said, yep, they're about to kick off at the hearing that they had in May 2024.
Yep. He
said, they're just about to kick off.
Yep.
We're breaking ground soon or something was his comment.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, haven't even started. Here we are, more than 12 months later.
Right.
And apparently it is still subject to refinement of the scope.
So in the meantime, though, we've got dog rehoming crisis.
Absolutely. Yeah. Dogs staying in kennels, participants aren't able to keep them.
Yeah.
So, and if GAP can't take them, then they're going to community rescues.
Yeah.
Or they're just languishing in kennels.
Right.
And this was spoken of as a welfare initiative. You know, we're going to put all this money into housing greyhounds, which it really doesn't solve any problem because they're not going to be rehomed faster, but at least they might be a little more comfortable than sitting in kennels.
And even that sounds like it's just been lip service, effectively.
Yeah. That we know that they purchased the land.
Yeah.
There's still a participant living on it with his dogs. We know that the approval's gone through the City of Gosnells. We've seen the drawings. So why? Is it because they don't know whether there's going to be the money available? Are they going to need that $6.1 million for something else?
Or is it about priorities, Mel? That's just not...
I really hope
it's not a priority.
I hope it's about the money in this case, honestly. And I really would hope that it's not because welfare comes at the end.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Well, the other thing is, rather than spend $6 million on a place to put these poor so-called retired dogs,
athletes, retired athletes.
Yeah, why don't if we just phase the thing out altogether?
100%.
It doesn't make any sense, Mel.
It doesn't. No.
There's news from Tasmania, I hear. Very good news. Unlike the news of death and injury, this I think is good news.
It is. It's awesome news. The government are planning on defunding Tas racing by 2029, but they don't know whether or not a ban is going to be put into place or whether the phase out is
so the phase out is for government support is
correct.
The phasing out, not the phasing out and making it illegal.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's great news either way.
I hope they're not like that mob in, was it Sydney in New South Wales, that mob that came out and then they did a full-on bloody
Well, they did try to do that. There was a motion of no
confidence. Yeah.
But it was...
I heard he won it anyway.
He won it anyway, so...
Well, if you're listening to the podcast, you probably empathise with our position. Although I think we got some new fans since we interviewed Michelle. I've got a sneaking suspicion there's even more pro racers listening now. But if you are listening and you just want to get the word out, let people know that it's still happening, because public support for greyhound racing is at an all-time low, just in terms of people who think it should exist or not exist. So keep talking to people and get them to talk to their government, get them to, sign petitions, because the government supports it because of industry and lobbyist pressure, really, and pressure from the gambling industry to bring the money in. And there's no broad-based grassroots support for it, is there?
No, there's not.
Speaking of broad-based and grassroots, Free the Hounds this year, Mel, in August, just turned 10.
Yes.
10 years of advocating.
10 years of helping houndies. 10 years of raising awareness.
Getting the word out.
3 petitions.
3 petitions. Each petition gained...
The first one was 3,000, I think, and the last one was almost 27,000.
Wow. So that just shows that without Free the Hounds, I think, those numbers wouldn't have got bigger and bigger, because you're the ones getting the word out, right?
It's the work of volunteers, all volunteers, that gets that momentum.
But you won't be happy, Mel, will you, until... until Free the Hounds
is gone.
Doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's our ideal.
It's one of the few organisations whose goal is its own demise.
Exactly.
Yeah. Although many people said that about me over the years. Seems like your goal is your own demise. And I'm still going. Let's hope Free the Hounds isn't. Well done to all the volleys of Free the Hounds, though, and obviously to my hero, Maleficent, sitting across from me.
Oh, and to Alana Christensen too, for being the founder. And
Yep. And all the friends that we know. Friends in high places, friends in low places.
Yep.
They're the hounds, by the way.
Yes.
The ones in the
being
low.
Short.
Relatively low. Yeah.
Yes.
Shall we get on with it?
Absolutely.
We got a nice one today, Mel. We have Sian. She loves the hounds. She rescues them. She looks after them. And she does some other stuff too, and we're going to talk to her soon.
Great. Can't wait.
All right, Mel, it's time to say good day to our next guest. She's a rescuer. She looks after the houndies. She cleans up the mess, or, provides the net that the industry doesn't provide. And that's a wonderful thing. Sadly, Sian lost her wonderful houndie Charlie in February. But she's got some other friends at home. She's got 2 long-necked turtles, Simon and Garfunkel. And Sian is a bridge over troubled waters for the hounds, so that's nice. More than that, Sian has started her own dog training company called Snooter Brown, and Sian is an animal behaviourist, so she'll be fun to talk to. Shall we say hello?
Sure.
Hi, Sian, are you there?
Yeah, sure am. I'll tell you something, that a behaviourist is actually a protected term.
Oh, really?
You have to actually do a whole bunch of stuff. So it's a bit difficult because I call myself a dog trainer.
Yeah, I'll call you a dog trainer who knows a shitload about animal behaviour.
Yeah.
Sian, how did you first become involved in greyhound rescue?
Well, I realised that I'd have some spare time on my hands, and I thought I should give back and do some volunteering. So I started walking dogs at the RSPCA. And after a while of walking the dogs, I realised that I really missed having a dog, but I wasn't necessarily in a position to adopt. And so I thought fostering would be a good idea. And I kept Googling, what dogs do well in apartments, and greyhounds kept coming up. And at the time, I was like, these are really weird-looking animals. I don't understand why everyone's so obsessed with them.
Yep, you're singing my tune.
Then it was just before the New South Wales ban. There was going to be a lot of greyhounds that needed to be rehomed, and so I thought, oh, fine, I'll get a greyhound then. We all know where it goes from there.
Yeah. Your origin story is so similar to mine. We've only got a small apartment, and now we have 2 of the most beautiful creatures in the whole world.
Oh, yeah, you find room for them. And when I worked in rehoming, people go, oh, I'm not sure if my place is big enough. And I was like, well, is it bigger than a kennel?
Great point.
And in fact, sometimes when we see them, the rooms are actually too big. It can be quite overwhelming to the dogs because they're just not used to having that much space available as well. Sometimes having a smaller amount of space can actually be a good thing.
Yeah. Can I ask you a bit about Charlie, if that's all right?
Yeah, so in the ACT, way back in the day, the only rehoming organisation that was kind of active was affiliated with the racing industry, and one of my very good friends, Cindy, was helping Sydney-based rehoming bring dogs to the ACT. So Cindy would drive up to Greyhound Rescue and pick up a foster and then drive it back down to Canberra.
Wow.
And then along the way she kind of so picked up some more people, and they decided to start the ACT Greyhound Support Network.
Yep.
So when I first started fostering, I reached out to them and said, hey, I'd like to do this. And then very, very quickly found my people, and because I have difficulty saying no to things.
No wonder you and Mel get along well.
Yeah, exactly right. Well in the thick of it. And we ended up doing our own fostering in Canberra, but we worked with the rehoming organisations.
Yeah.
So we weren't a rehoming organisation, we just coordinated it from Canberra.
Yeah.
But later on down the track, there was another group called Greyhound Connections that started up in Canberra.
Yep.
And we were basically cannibalising each other's efforts. We didn't need two rehoming organisations, so we decided to step back and focus more on our support rather than in rehoming. And to be honest, I burnt out completely from it. I don't know how people can do it for years and years and years. It was extremely draining. It really took a toll. But Charlie was our last dog, and we couldn't find her the right spot. Regardless of where we were looking, she wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
So Charlie was a hilarious dog. She was super energetic greyhound. She was one of the bouncy ones. And we thought she needed a friend because she had quite severe separation anxiety, but there's different ways of looking at separation anxiety, but she had what I kind of refer to as like your true separation anxiety, where a second greyhound just didn't help.
Yeah.
On top of that, she was quite dog selective, so we couldn't just put her with any other greyhound.
Right.
Generally, boys that she could push around and be bossy to, she did better with.
Yeah.
Sounds like a typical female greyhound.
Yeah, she was a bit of a mole. When we finally adopted her, we used to walk her, because we were in the apartment, we would try and walk her heaps to try and get some of that energy out. When we bought a house, and we were like, okay, well, all right, Charlie, you can stay. At this point, she'd been with us for 6 months. We found out by chance she was running around in the backyard and she slipped, and I ended up giving her some pain medication just because she was a bit stiff and sore. And I ended up seeing this massive turnaround in her anxiety and some of her other behavioural challenges. So we discovered that a lot of it was stemming from pain. Fast forward to us spending just thousands of dollars on diagnostics to never find out what was causing her pain. Yeah. But we shifted her life around when we started treating her pain. And I work with an absolutely amazing vet behaviourist down in Canberra. It's like a dog psychiatrist or something. Right. She's amazing. And we were hitting pain from all of these different areas, like targeting pain relief. Yeah. And the combination in the end was just fantastic. Like, we resolved her separation anxiety. She was very reactive and had a big prey drive, but through a whole bunch of things that we did with her, that settled, and we were able to get her to engage with us even when there were cats running around and things like that. Wow. So pain really, really was a huge cornerstone of her life. Yeah. I actually strongly suspect that a lot of greyhounds are in pain, and I do think pain plays a lot
in their personality and their presentation.
Yeah, and just when we see things like reactivity or just, and this is where sometimes with the greyhounds, we've done a really good marketing job on them. They're really lazy, they sleep a lot and things like that. But sometimes I'll see a dog and I'm thinking, well, yeah, they do sleep a lot, but they haven't got enough off their bed, and I'm a new person in their space. So that could actually be telling me that they may not want to get up. The way that they kind of lay, they'll try and hide where they're sore. Charlie would be flinching at home from just me touching her very gently. Took her to the vet and she didn't react at all. So okay. I had to take videos of her to show the vet so she didn't think that I was a hypochondriac on behalf of my dog. They're remarkable at hiding. And when we kind of unpacked it all, she was actually one of the most perfect dogs for our family.
Awesome. That's a lovely story. I'm aware that the ACT is one of the few places in Australia where there is no greyhound racing. What a beacon of hope for the rest of the nation.
Exactly.
What input did you have in that, Sian?
So tangentially is probably the best way of putting it. So the ACT Greyhound Support Network had a bit to do with it in terms of supporting. It was also driven given by the RSPCA in Canberra, actually. And it was kind of like a confluence of events, I guess, that pulled it all together to actually have it shut down. There was a recent study that had come up with like 98% of Canberrans don't care about greyhound.
Yeah, right.
Don't want it, and then there was also a story about how much government money was going into it as well.
Yep.
And so those two things made it an easier sell. Yeah, there was a Durkin report that was done, which off the back after the Hughes report from the New South Wales inquiry, which basically found that there was no way to extricate the ACT from New South Wales. So if the New South Wales system was as broken as it was, then ACT couldn't have clean hands, no matter how much regulation or anything. And so she put in a very strong recommendation that it should be shut down and legislated to shut it down and actually write that date into legislation, which occurred.
Yep.
So there was one very, very vocal Liberal member of Parliament who was the Shadow Minister for Racing, who actually did some really dodgy things. He basically decided to syndicate a dog who made a racing name of community values. He said he had it fully subscribed in 2 hours. And he said, and these folks will be lining up around the street to adopt this dog at the end of its racing career. Well, needless to say, Nugget was his kennel name. Nugget did finish his career. He had a tumble in this last race. And then shockingly, none of the syndicates were there waiting to pick up. And he was, one of them suggested that he go to the pound. And he was probably the safest dog in New South Wales, I dare say, because there was that, light shined on him. In saying that, I'm still shocked. So he was very happy to brag about how easily it was to get a dog syndicated. But isn't that just telling of the industry that when push comes to shove and this dog needs its home for the rest of its life, no one was there.
Yeah.
So,
and it speaks a lot to politicians as well, what they'll do for...
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I took great pleasure in telling anyone who would listen about the story and actually pulled the hands out and demonstrated where he'd said all of this stuff. And he wouldn't engage with me at all. I just went, that's really dodgy.
Sian, when you mentioned the sort of the lack of public support in Canberra and the money that was getting poured into it were two of the driving factors to have it end, reminds me of the situation in WA, Mel, very similar. There's really not a lot of public support for greyhound racing here. There's a lot of people upset about the amount of money that the government's pouring in. Sounds like similar kind of drivers. When was it that the ACT banned greyhound racing? Was it long ago?
I think the legislative date is in 2018. Right. So they had, I think, 12 months to draw down. And there are some limitations in this as well. So you can still have a racing dog in the ACT. And I think, to the best of my knowledge, you can still trial. So the ACT track is still there. And I have seen the industry rehoming program operate out of there quite a bit. But, yeah, there's no wagering, I guess, is the biggest thing.
So they'd have to send them up to New South Wales.
Yeah, though there's a really interesting... So Canberra, there's a border town to Canberra called Queanbeyan. Our state minister at the time, Barilaro, who you may remember from his numerous scandals, he actually was working quite closely with the ACT Racing Club, and he commissioned a feasibility study into moving the ACT racing operations to Queanbeyan and actually setting up a Queanbeyan track. That report has never seen the light of day, despite many, many requests to it. And it's interesting in light of the recent inquiry, because it is, again, New South Wales taxpayers, again, investigating the feasibility or, what's happening in the greyhound racing industry. And the New South Wales government not only not sharing those reports and not making changes based on them. So it's quite infuriating. So if you are in New South Wales and you are listening to this, get onto your local member, because unreal amounts of money.
Yeah, get onto them. And we've got people listening all over the country, all over the world. So especially New South Wales, if you're listening to this, ask for some transparency, some accountability.
Did you want to find someone from, is it Greenland?
Yes, Greenland. Oh, good. I can tell you're a listener now. Greenland, we're on board. I thought that would be the prophecy, but it seems like Ethiopia's the country now.
Where my son's from. When we get someone from there,
that's the new call out, Ethiopia. If you know anyone in Ethiopia, tell them to listen.
I actually know a few people.
Oh, there we go.
Get them on board.
Sian.
I'll make sure I share this on my LinkedIn. We've got a studio over there.
You'd be the saviour of WA Greyhounds if we get. That's my new prophecy, Ethiopia. Moving on to, Sian, you do other things as well. As I mentioned, you've got a dog training service called Snooter Brown. How did that come to be?
Yeah, so Snooter Brown, it used to be Snooter Brown Snuffle Hound. And I was fostering, because we were in an apartment and we didn't have kids at the time, we often got the harder dogs, I should say that. Yeah. And I want to stress, every dog has its thing, right? Yeah. I had one foster, Sally, who was just gorgeous and easygoing, loved kids, loved cats, loved everything. I looked up her racing and she'd actually been scratched once because she'd been drugged, and my partner said, was she drugged with niceness? She was just the happiest dog. But she was just in your face all the time. And some people love it in their dogs and some people find that a bit confronting. And, we ended up having to eat standing up with our plates up. But some of our dogs they were quite fearful. Some of them had really strong reactivity. I discovered enrichment and started learning about some of the benefits from it. And I can see it's making such a profound difference for our fosters. And so I started getting really into it and started making snuffle mats and things like that just to sell and give some money back to rehoming efforts that we were doing. And we have really strong feelings because dog training is an unregulated industry. Right. Anyone can call themselves a dog trainer. Right. So we used to have a very strong push to make sure that people were seeing people who were qualified and using for-free methods. And off the back of that, I thought, maybe I should do it. A couple of my mates were doing the Delta program, so I thought, all right, I'll do it. Because again, I'm a sucker for punishment and I can't say no. So I started doing that, and then when I was getting close to graduating, I was like, how am I going to stand this up? And I thought, you know what? I've got Snooter Brown sitting there. I've got this Facebook page and stuff. I'll just adapt it into that. So originally I called it around rehabilitating greyhounds for pet life effectively. And then I was like, it's not the dog's fault. I was talking to one of my friends who's a trainer as well, and she's like, rehabilitating makes it sound like they're broken, and I don't think they are. They need a level of transition, and there's a whole bunch of models and things that we can look at how to do that.
More like acclimatizing maybe.
Literally, so now I don't use that terminology quite deliberately. I talk instead about helping greyhounds transition to pet life. Yeah, so right. It's a transitionary phase. It's there's a whole bunch of things that go along with that. On my Facebook page, I've now called it Greyhound Behaviour Retraining. So we talk about retraining them from what they were doing.
Right. And so what are your top tips then for new hound owners with new houndies?
So I think every single trainer that you ever talk to would say, go back and look at what your dog was originally bred for. And so when you look at greyhounds, obviously they were bred to chase. But originally people used them for hunting, to flush out prey, basically. Yeah. So why this is important, there's a model that I really like using because it's really accessible for people. It's by a lady called Kim Brophy, and it's called the LEGS model, LEGS, LEGS. Learning, Environment, Genetics and Self is what LEGS stand for. Right. So the G in that is genetics. They don't need someone to direct them how to run and chase out that thing. They see the movement and they are genetically inclined to chase after it. Yeah. Where that's really important is similar with huskies and Jack Russells. They're all, people tell you they're so stubborn, they're so hard to train. They're not stubborn. We've bred them to be independent and to think for themselves. And then we're really confused when they do that. Right. And it's the same with Kelpies and Border Collies. They're bred for how willing they are to work with us.
Right.
So, of course, they're going to be, quote unquote, easy to train.
Right. We've ingrained these traits into them.
Exactly right. Exactly right. You know, I talk about greyhounds knowing their worth. You have to be valuable to that greyhound. You have to make it worth their while for them to think about it. And I've got some fantastic videos of Charlie. When I was training her, I had a liver treat and I had some, you know, other treat in my hand. And she wouldn't do the behaviour that I was asking for. I was asking her to step up on a little shelf thing. Yep. And she wouldn't do it. And then I swapped the treat around in my hand. So she knew the one that was coming next was the preferred treat, and she did the behaviour. You know, if you want to train your greyhound, get a fistful of treats. Don't be mucking around.
Yeah,
like,
right.
You know.
What's in it for me, Mama? Come on.
Exactly. They know their worth. Yeah, and the other part of it, which I think is really important, I think people really need to understand where these dogs have come from, because a lot of the time it's rural. A lot of the time, jumping around a little bit here, but stick with me. I've seen it in New South Wales. I'm assuming it's across the board, but a lot of the welfare changes means that there's less euthanasia, which is amazing, yes, but it also brings with it some challenges, because the fact is that these dogs aren't necessarily well bred and they aren't necessarily looked after and well socialised, and so they learn sometimes that humans can't be trusted. Yeah. And a lot of these welfare changes that have come in have actually impacted on the type of people that we're getting in the industry as well. So it used to be, you know, an old bloke with 3 dogs down the back end of the yard kind of thing. Yeah. Now they need air-conditioned trailers to take them to races, so they can't actually race because they don't have the money, or they're not going to invest that money in to get the paraphernalia that you need to race. Now, that's under welfare, and don't get me wrong, I'm all for that. But it means that you're now getting the big end of town, and you've got breeding, you know, hundreds of puppies. In New South Wales alone, it's like 4,000 puppies are born every year. Yep. They're not getting socialised or anything like that. Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of impacts because of some of the welfare, and it's one of those things, there's so many unintended consequences of people trying to do the right thing. At the end of the day, you can't do it on that scale, and that's what the greyhound racing relies on, is scale.
Well, the one way to get around all that, I guess, is we could just stop racing them. That might help.
That fixes everything.
That could help things a little bit.
But it fixes everything.
Yeah, 100%. I don't see in any way, shape or form how this industry could be regulated, like, to be effective, because ultimately you need that amount of dogs. And what sucks is, and I think is that Racing Wagering WA would have the same thing. Like, they need to be able to breed X amount of dogs for a funding industry. And they can't rehome that many.
Yeah, in Western Australia, we asked for that to be as a supplementary question to the hearing, and they said that they weren't able to. Racing and Wagering did, because it was commercially sensitive to say how many dogs could be bred each year or how many are sustainably able to be rehomed.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous!
Isn't that crazy? That is code for we will not tell you, because we don't want you to know what the answer is.
Yeah.
Well, exactly right. Like, and it's the same thing with not releasing this report, the Drake inquiry, and it's just like, we're not idiots. I mean, they're really worried about a class war with it.
How ugly must the truth be if there's this level of opacity to the system?
Exactly right.
As Sian said, the class war, because the greyhound trainers are bitching, well, why aren't you looking at the horsey people? But the horsey people have got more power because they've got more money.
And I also think, I don't believe in any form of animal racing, but when you breed a horse, you're going to get one horse. Like, you're not getting, artificial insemination means that you're getting large litters. 8 is a pretty standard litter, but I've seen up to anything to 12. You pick any dog. I'll go and search up their litter. There'll be about 8 dogs there. One of them might not be named, didn't make it at all. For your really big earners, they might have all of the puppies have raced and trained, but there will always be a standout figure, 1 or 2 standout puppies. The rest would have done maybe a grand, and then they're just like, no. Yep. So they need to generate that many litters to actually to find those ones.
Absolutely, to fill the fields.
Yeah.
To get the racing dollars in. or to get the sponsorship
Exactly right.
from the people that want to sponsor them, or to get the gambling revenue in.
Yeah, and again, the bottom line is they're commodities. So, and if you've got a commodity, you want to utilise that commodity as much as you can until you've basically worn the commodity out.
And it's, to me, it's not even so much about that. It's some of the bigwigs in these controlling bodies and the sponsors and the big corporations, the betting corporations, they're using the participants of racing just as much as they are the dogs.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's interesting as well because one of the biggest structural challenges, and this is the thing that I don't think it can actually be regulated, because within the industry you've got breeders, you've got owners, you've got trainers. Now, one person could own all three of those hats, but that can also be different people. So the breeder might sell a puppy to a syndicate, and those owners will give it to a trainer and pay a stipend for kenneling and food and whatnot. Now, if that dog starts to not win or doesn't make any money, and those owners just disappear into the ether, that trainer is then left with this dog. Now, they're not getting paid, and that dog's taking up a space. Now, I do not have sympathy for trainers, but that it's not fair. The whole thing's not fair. But you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I can see why some of these dogs are being just shifted to pounds or whatever, because what can you do?
Well, they're falling through the cracks, aren't they, Sian? Because that system is full of giant big cracks. There's no one holding those dogs, really. The breeder's not holding, the owner's not holding, the trainer's left holding the can but can't. Then the dog's going to fall through, and the people that pick up the dogs falling through the crack are the community groups and the advocacy groups and the rehoming groups.
We've got a trainer here at the moment who's actually suspended, and she still has 3 dogs on her property because she can't get hold of the owner of the dogs to be able to release them to a third party or to a rehoming organisation. So these dogs are just stuck in kennels, and she's on a pension. She's got no income to be able to support these dogs. So what and the industry knows about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the thing. They're really feeling it at the moment, and as well they should, because, and this is where it gets really tricky from a community rehoming side as well, because every now and again you'll have someone who will sit on Gumtree and go and find all these dogs that are being given away for free, or they'll trawl through pound notices and say, oh, there's a dog in a pound. Now, a whole bunch of then rehoming groups have to scramble to try and get that dog out of the pound, because in a pound environment, they're not safe. Like there's a time limit element there. But what happens then is that dog now takes the foster spot. Now, I'm not begrudging that dog, don't get me wrong. But the thing is, all of the legitimate trainers or the legitimate owners who are waiting and doing the right thing and putting their dog's name on waiting lists for rehoming organisations are pushed further down the list. Yeah. And so then, it's just this whole confluence of activity which just kind of bubbles underneath, and it's reaching tipping point now, and we're seeing that all of these racing bodies had these great ideas that they're going to build these kennels for these dogs to live out their days, but they said up to 400 dogs can be housed in there. One, awful, imagine living out your day in a kenneling environment. That sounds horrendous. And 2, that's 10% of the dogs that you breed in 1 year.
Right. Just a drop in the ocean.
It's just a holding pattern, isn't it?
Yeah. Sian, this is, it's just a giant big mess, really. I'm so happy that in ACT at least you guys have come to your senses. I'd like to finish on maybe a positive note today, if that's all right.
I'll try not to turn it around.
Because there's just, the fact that we're living through a time where we still do this to these beautiful sentient creatures, it's a tragedy. But what I want to ask you is, what is that you love the most about this particular breed of dog?
Geez. There's so much to love. I love when they first come in and they've been with you for a couple of weeks, and you start to see them.
Yes.
And so they start to get these little quirks. It's pretty common for dogs when they first come into foster to haunt. So they'll go and collect things and they'll just put it in their bed. Yeah. And most of the time they don't chew it or anything like that. They just like things because they haven't had things before. And run an obedience class. I have a Greyhound version of it, and it's called How to Dog. And you get to week 2 or 3, and you can just see these dogs and owners just just start to get each other and have a way of communicating, and it's just beautiful. And the thing that stands out to me most about this breed is its resilience. Like, they go through all of this. Everything is set up 100% against them. And so not only are they not well socialised, not only are they bred in these huge numbers, the first time they've ever lived by themselves, like in their own kennel, not with their litter mates, you know, and they're doing it at this secondary fear phase where fearful situations can get imprinted on dogs' brains a hell of a lot easier.
Right.
And yet, like, they'll still come out of this and they'll still be nice animals.
Yeah.
You know?
They've got a capacity for love and for reciprocal love that a lot of humans don't have. If humans had been through what we put these gorgeous creatures through.
Forgiveness.
That's another one.
Yeah.
And I love that bit. You just reminded me so much of when we first took my little princess Bunny home, and there was this period of the first few weeks where we just saw her emerge. Her personality emerged, and it's still happening to this day. She's nearly just turned 9. I think we got her when she was 2, and there's still new aspects of her, still of our relationship, like her in relation to me, how we are together, because she's my little princess, and our relationship is deepening and developing, and the way we express it to each other is still deepening and developing, you know?
Yeah. And I think we have a tendency to rush that sometimes. I see it like some of these adoption days and stuff, and I see all these dogs being hugged. I'm like, that is a really unnatural behaviour for a dog, and it's very confronting. And I used to say to adopters when, you know, we did home visits or whatever, and I'd say, like, you've been thinking about this for a really long time. No one has told the dog, you know? And they're just contending with so much. Just go and explore. You've got the rest of your life, and you can see how it evolves, like with you and Bunny, and it just gets better and better, you know?
That's what I learned. I rushed it with the missus big time. But with Bunny, I took my time. I took it slow, you know. There was lots of dating, lots of courting before we had our first snuggle.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's interesting that evolves over time as well. And I know Charlie she was a very smoochy greyhound. She wanted to be always touching, always on you. But as she got older, and thankfully, I think she calmed down a bit, which helped as well. But she was desperately underweight, and she left us quite a bit more portly than that. But as my fabulous behaviour vet says, we never fat shame the anxious ones.
No, I call Bunny.
Good to know.
Bunny's my fat, happy princess, and I want her to be fat and happy. Sian, we'll have to wrap that one up for today. Thank you so much for a very informative, if at times, these conversations about the industry are often a little confronting and a little disappointing and a little frustrating. But it's really nice to talk to someone who clearly, unlike a lot in the industry, are interested in greyhounds for who they are, helping them to express who they are and helping humans understand that process takes time. So in terms of your role as a dog trainer, a big shout out to Snooter Brown. If you want someone who really has an affinity for these creatures and understands their uniqueness, check out Snooter Brown, everyone.
I was going to say as well, I actually do run some online stuff as well for our dogs who might find the outside world a little bit scary. We've got a hermit hound online program. It's like a normal group class, but it's just done online, and it's been super fun. And we went from one dog who was effectively agoraphobic, really, really didn't want to engage with the process, and at the end of these kind of 4 weeks, she was like shaping and doing these really kind of advanced activities.
Wow.
Honestly, I got an email from one lady, her dog was so scared and couldn't leave the house, and she sent me this video of the dog leaving and getting in the car, and I was just like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. So, you know, if you do have that dog, give them a shot, give them the tools, because they can live such amazing lives.
And is that hermithounds.com or?
If you go to snooterbrown.com.
Oh, yeah. Yep, snooterbrown.com, and you'll find it all there. You know, we have listeners now. What was the latest tally, Mel? We've got 53 countries listening to us, so you got to watch out. You might get a huge spike in your online presence. You never know, Sian.
Yeah, exactly. We do have one on separation anxiety coming up, so I know that's always a hot topic.
I might have to do that whenever Jem goes away from the weekend. I'm sitting in the corner, rocking back and forth, sucking my thumb. Anyway,
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time today, Sian. It's been awesome. Come back and talk to us again sometime.
It sounds fabulous. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Sian.
No worries.
That was a lovely one, wasn't it, Mel?
Yeah, Sian's great.
What a lovely gal.
She is. And knows her stuff too.
Knows her stuff. Lovely personality. Knows how to have a chuckle. In the midst of all this tragedy, we can still have a giggle.
I know.
Check her out on snooterbrown.com, I think she said it was. And just an awesome person to talk to. Thank you very much, Sian. That culminates... Does it culminate? That completes?
Completes,
that,
yes.
Finishes? That
ends the 50th episode.
We'll see you back for the 51st soon.
Yep.
Hopefully before the 100th, we will have released the hounds.